Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to all of you. My name is IZZUL binti Muhammad IZHAM from 5 Al-Farabi SK PIDA 3. Today I would like to share my review on my favorite book, which might interest children at my age too, entitled ANANSI and Turtle Share Dinner. Have you ever heard of the story of tricky spider named ANANSI? I found out that this story is very interesting as the characters in the story are both have very distinct characteristics. It is written by Della Roland and was published in 2006 by McGraw-Hill School Division. It consists of 18 printed pages with beautiful illustration by Chris Chavez. This story was The ANANSI story was first told in Ghana and in the Caribbean and are considered trickster folktales because ANANSI, the small spider in the tales, uses intelligence and trickiness to triumph larger creatures. This story was originally part of a tradition where the older people in the family told them to their children to pass down knowledge and moral messages to the younger generations. Sometimes the story was acted out by the storyteller or even sung with dancing and drumming. In the 1950s, people began to collecting the famous stories and writing them down so that school children could learn them. The story of ANANSI and Turtle Share Dinner is made up of two parts. The first part is about Turtle dropping by at ANANSI's house where he wanted to have dinner. And the second part is ANANSI going to Turtle's house as he was invited for dinner at Turtle's place. Okay, the first part goes like this. Turtle was walking home under the hot weather, starving, and he comes upon ANANSI the spider's home. He smells ANANSI cooking dinner, so he knocks on the door to eat with him. ANANSI is very selfish and doesn't want to answer the door because he was not willing to share his food with the turtle. But it is a custom in the country to share food with visitors who came during lunch or dinner hours, whether the visitor is invited or shows up uninvited. So ANANSI could not refuse. Nevertheless, he was determined not to share his delicious yams with the turtle. Being the trickster as he is, ANANSI figures out a way to trick turtles so that he can keep all of the food for himself. ANANSI tells Turtle to wash his hands because they are dirty. The turtle takes a look at his hands and saw that they were full of dirt as he has been walking for a very long time. He went to a nearby river and returned after washing his hands, but when he returns, they are dirty again. The turtle was very hungry and tired by now, but he still went back to the river to wash his hands. This time, he was determined not to let his hand get dirty. He was careful and walked only on the grass to keep his hands clean. But by the time he reached the table, ANANSI had already finished all the food. Turtle was very disappointed, although his stomach rumbled with hunger. He thanked ANANSI for the meal and invites him to dinner 3 days later. That's the end of part 1. Here comes part 2. 3 days later, ANANSI started his journey to Turtle's house for dinner. When ANANSI arrived, he realized that Turtle lived at the bottom of the creek. Turtle greets him and dives into the water to prepare the dinner table. ANANSI jumped into the water right behind Turtle, but instead of sinking, he popped to the surface and floated there. No matter how hard he tried, he always popped up to the top. He tried every possible measure to go underwater, running jump, belly flop, high dive, but still he could not go beneath the surface of the water. After thinking hard, finally Anansi had an idea. He gathered pebbles on the shore and put them in the pocket of his dinner jacket, the one he had worn especially for this special invitation. Soon his pockets buzzed with pebbles, and at this time when Anansi dived, he sank right down to the bottom of the creek and swam to Turtle's table. As he is about to take a bite of food, Turtles asked Anansi to remove his jacket, as it was their custom to take off the jacket before eating. Anansi does so, and he pops up to the surface of the water. He could see Turtle slowly consuming the sumptuous meal alone. Anansi felt sad and slowly climbed out of the water. The moral of the story is never try to outsmart someone. You may find that you yourself are the one to be outsmarted. In short, someone will treat you the same way you choose to treat them. If you treat them nicely, they will most likely be nice to you back. But if you're being unkind, they may well be unkind to you too. In this story, Anansi is selfish and unkind towards Turtle and stops him from eating by tricking him. Because of this, the turtle does the same back to him, as we heard the story saying, "What goes around comes around." I'm truly inspired and learned a lot by Turtle's character in this story. First, he is polite. He says thank you when he is offered food, and says I'm sorry when Anansi tells him he has a dirty hands. He then goes twice to clean his hands when he is asked to. It means that he respects other people's custom. Secondly, he is a problem solver. For example, he thinks of walking on the grass so he doesn't get dirty hands again. And he uses this skill to teach Anansi a lesson by tricking him when he has been disrespected by him. I think that Turtle asked Anansi to take his jacket off because it was part of his plan to get revenge. He knows that spiders float, and that if Anansi takes off his jacket, he will float up to the surface, and then he will not be able to enjoy the feast. What a brilliant idea! So, that's all for today. Thank you for lending me your ears. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.